hope I'm not jumping ahead here and understand that my background is marketing, and I've most recently worked with a company in the sales performance management space. Okay, that's my perspective. So obviously we're all hearing a lot about how do we track social media, how do we figure out who the influencers are, or in Seth Godin's term, sneezers. My question for you is, I think tracking is all well and good and we need to know who to outreach to, but have you seen any companies that are taking that first step that you mentioned, saying, okay, influence is good, but now I need to figure out who's actually acting on the call to action. But is anybody tying back into the sales force and saying, how do I get them into the funnel? What's my process? Or is it a very disconnected, marketing is out here talking about influencers, and the sales force isn't getting to those people that are coming through?
Yes, I think that you've outlined exactly what I see the major problem is first of all, people, right now, social media is very hot, I understand, but you know, what I see is I'll tend to say, well, what's your Google strategy? Because 80% of your traffic is coming from Google, you know, for 90% of websites, and it's usually if you're kind of the doctor going in and do your diagnosis, you see a lot of basic things off the charts, and then the next thing that you usually clean up is what, like, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. What are the goals? What are you trying to do? What kind of traffic are you going to try and go get? A Twitter audience and a Facebook audience can be very, very different types of mentalities. And I think then going into the sale, I think that's another thing. I was at a publishing conference last week, and in a room talking about lead generation models. Lead generation is social media is the fastest growing space. Behind that is lead generation. Which is, it was projected to grow, I think, was 17% to 2013. And one of the problems of, I think, many that they face is that fact that most of the industry is based on coming to a page and, you know, downloading a white paper, let's say, to get, you know, kind of the like Aberdeen type of model that you may have seen or you've been taken to, and immediately they are beholden to that company's ability to, you know, basically know something like Salesforce very well, have a very good CRM system, that it gets to sales, and that sales is efficient in getting back to these leads that are generated. I think there's a lot of technological ways that can be made that's a very easy way to make some improvements, but I think it's one of those things where, you know, it's let's say that's the handoff point between the marketing and the sales team.
But are companies realizing they need a handoff point? Or is it just dying?
I think they know they need it, but I think it's not, you know, if you're, and this is interesting because I saw this, I'll bring this down to a micro level, but I think most companies spend a lot on marketing and a lot on sales and sales training, but not much in this nexus point between the two, and whether that's software or some kind of other process. So let's take it all the way down to small business. We started as a company that did Google AdWords for home improvement. We were a lead-based model, so we were generating them for about $45, reselling them for about $100. Long story short, we start to get challenged on our leads by people at the end of the month. You know, they say, well, you know, of those 100, 30 of them were no good. So that's how we developed call tracking in our system, and from that and listening to the calls, one of the things we noticed was exactly kind of this in a different way, which was, you know, in the small business model, we've seen this scale up to larger companies and larger organizations, and their different focus is, you know, call comes in, person handling the call is off script, or they're doing something else, or maybe it's the technology. Maybe the phone is taking 9, 10 rings before it gets to a person because it's forwarding through the office. And then that person maybe doesn't schedule something right, and then you can see that there's an impact where basically fewer of the appointments are scheduled for the salespeople. So there's a loss there. And depending on how good the company is, this is a loss that is often not even seen. And so who pays for that is whoever you hired for, you know, to do the lead generations. That's usually a publisher, or it's an agency. And so we started to see that this would happen as we went up to larger clients, where where I think the trend really where this is impactful is on the phone, but I'm seeing it more where I see more companies that have a lot of problems with like Salesforce, and then that they don't have the Salesforce integrated properly into their other web analytics, so that they can really see, per individual, per individual. So if I see, okay, I got a new lead, how many times has that person ever been on the website before they made the action to sign up, and what else did they do at that time? So I think that's a good